Hello everyone, today I will be going over one of the most famous and instructional chess games ever. This game was played in 1858 with Paul Morphy, with the white pieces playing against two opponents, Duke Karl and Count Isouard with the black pieces. Paul Morphy was probably the best chess player of his era, and his play is characterized with beautiful harmony with his pieces to attack his opponent. This game is a masterclass example of how to use your pieces and how to attack your opponent. Let's get started. Morphy starts out the game with pawn to e4, and black responds with e5. And then Morphy develops his knight to f3, attacking the e5 pawn, which is a standard and good move. Black plays d6 to protect his pawn on e5, and Morphy pushes his pawn forward to d4, once again occupying and attacking the center, something that you always want to do in chess. Morphy's opponent plays bishop g4, pinning white's knight to his queen, and white takes the pawn on e5. Here, if black simply captures the pawn back on e5, he will lose the pawn because white can take black's queen on d8, and when black takes back, the white knight is no longer pinned to the queen, so white can simply move his knight and capture the e5 pawn for free, and he's now up a pawn. So here, black has to capture the knight on f3 with his bishop, which is what happened in the game. And after Morphy captures back, black captures the pawn on e5. Now, Morphy plays bishop c4, developing nicely with a tempo as he is threatening the pawn on f7. To prevent this, black develops his knight to f6, blocking white's queen, and Morphy does not stop his active play here, and he maneuvers his queen to b3, attacking the f7 pawn again, and he also attacks the b7 pawn as well at the same time. This is a nice double attack. Black protects the f7 pawn with queen e7, and here, white could take the pawn on b7 for free with his queen. In fact, this is probably the best move here. After queen b7, white threatens the rook on a8, and the only way for black to protect his rook is to trade queens, checking the king, forcing white to trade his queen. And after white goes c3, black moves his bishop, and white just defends the pawn on e4, white is simply a pawn up. However, instead of going for material in this position, Morphy prioritizes rapid development and piece activity, moving his knight to c3. Black responds with c6, which protects the b7 pawn with his queen, and Morphy develops his bishop to g5, pinning this f6 knight to the queen. And this continues to apply pressure on his opponent. Here, black plays b5, hoping to force white's bishop to retreat to relieve some of the pressure off of the f7 pawn, but here, Morphy does not shrink back, and instead, he opts to sacrifice his knight and open up the position for his pieces with this knight takes b5 move. Now, black has to capture the knight, and Morphy captures the pawn on b5 with his bishop, checking the black king. Here, there isn't much that black can do here. His f6 knight is currently pinned to his queen, so he can't move to d7 to block the check because white just wins the queen for free. He also can't move his king out of check because this not only loses his ability to castle, but it also allows white to continue developing with tempo by castling, putting the king in check, and here black's king is in further danger than before. So, in this position, black has to move his b8 knight to d7, which is what happened in the game. Morphy once again develops actively by castling queenside, which puts his king in a safer spot and also moves his rook to d1, attacking the knight on d7. Morphy is right now threatening to take the knight on d7, as black can never capture back with his knight, with his f6 knight, because it is being pinned by the bishop on g5. So Morphy's opponent moved the rook to d8, defending the pinned piece on d7, and now Morphy uses a tactic to win material. He sacrifices his rook by capturing on d7, and after the rook captures, he develops his h1 rook by moving it to d1, once again applying pressure on his opponent, specifically on the d7 square. And now, right now, Black faces the same problem that he faced a couple moves ago, which is that White is just threatening to take on d7, and Black can't simply take back with his knight because it is being pinned by the bishop. So Morphy's opponent here tries a freeing move with queen e6, which moves the queen out of the pin. And if White captures the rook on d7 with his bishop, Black can once again just capture back because the queen is no longer pinned. The knight is no longer pinned. Regardless, Morphy does this anyways, and after the knight captures, he finds a brilliant tactic that decides the game. He moves his queen to b8, checking Black, and Black's only move right now is to capture the queen with this knight, and after that, Morphy checkmates his opponent by moving his rook to d8. This whole game was a brilliant masterpiece. Every single one of Morphy's pieces were active and played a role in his attack. Not one piece was missing from action. I want you to note how active and powerful White's bishops were throughout this whole game. Both bishops were pinning and paralyzing Black's position from start to finish, and that severely limited Black's options. There is not one point in this game where Morphy decided to shrink back and play passively. He would always take the opportunity to push forward and use his active pieces to pressure and attack his opponent. So, this is all I have to say on this game. Feel free to review Morphy's masterpiece if you want to. As always, thank you for watching and have a good day.